Hey, welcome. This is Minding Your Business with the Lancaster Chamber of Commerce. I'm Chris Spiker of Antelope Valley Florist, board operator Kenneth Guzman.
Hello!
Hello, happy Saturday. Aaron Goldstein, Goldstein Digital.
Hey,
How you doing?
pretty good.
1 week closer to the air show.
I'm looking forward to it.
Air shows.
That's the highlight.
2 days.
Speaking of the air shows and the Air Force, who's our first guest today?
Our first guest today is Danny Buzzell, and he is from the U.S. Air Force Flight Test Museum.
Hey, Danny.
Hey, how's it going, Chris?
Wonderful. You're an
Aaron.
active guy.
I stay busy.
You stay busy. So now you're helping to build the museum out there at Edwards.
That is correct. Actually, to have to correct Aaron on one little subject. I am the general manager of the Flight Test Historical Foundation, which is the funding organization for the U.S. Air Force Flight Test Museum. So the museum is operated by the Department of Defense with 2 Air Force employees, and then I'm the general manager of the foundation, which provides all the money they need to operate the museum.
Now you're new blood at this position,
I am, as of November 1st of 2016.
and you love the Air Force.
I love the Air Force, love airplanes. I'm a wingnut.
And I've had some tours out at Edwards with you.
That's correct. You've been out there a few times.
Yeah. Driving in a bus, riding in a bus, down the flight line, looking in hangars.
Looking in hangars, watching F-35s cruise by,
Yeah.
F-22s go
Pilots
by,
waving.
all the fun stuff.
Yeah. And can't take a picture.
Can't take a picture, nope. Just got to get the mental picture and hold it there.
I can't take a picture. Can you believe that, Aaron? What fun is that? Some of those, like seeing that F-35 pilot waving at us in the bus, that is something I will never forget.
Yeah, they're good guys and gals.
So your main project is taking the museum, which is now inside the border, the lines of the facility, and moving it outside of the gate so that everybody in the world can come to the museum and see all these amazing exhibits.
Yes, sir. That's our
all it
goal.
is? That's all
so
it is?
in 1989, the Flight Test Historical Foundation raised enough money to build the existing museum, which is about 12,000 square feet, and it's inside the gate of the base. But back then, all you had to do was show that you had a California driver's license, and you could drive onto any military installation for the most part. But then 9/11 happened, and that closed the gate down, no access to anybody not supposed to be there or not authorized to be there, and so the museum was effectively cut off to the general public unless you sign up for one of the tours like I've conducted out there, or the general public tours through the Public Affairs Department. So the goal of the foundation now is to raise the money necessary to move the museum to a new location outside the West Gate, where the general public and anybody just driving down the highway wants to go see it, they can pull off on Rosemont Boulevard and go see the museum. But we're not going to keep it as a 12,000 square foot museum.
It's getting bigger.
Our goal is to build a 150,000 square foot museum.
Wow.
But not only is it a museum, if you look at the unique aspect of all the airplanes you've seen in our existing inventory, every one of those aircraft provides an education opportunity. So we're building this new museum as a region-wide. Our goal is to make it the finest regional aerospace STEM education center in this entire Southwest region, and hopefully one day in the country. Because every one of our airplanes has something that can be taught to young kids, elementary school, middle school, high school, even college students, and in the case of some work with the test pilot school now, even postgraduate students.
Wow, yeah. And every one of these airplanes or craft has either been tested here, built here, flown here.
Correct. Every aircraft in our inventory has had a mission of some sort at Edwards. It either took its first flight there, or flew regular test missions there, but they all have a direct tie to the history of Edwards Air Force Base, which is the birthplace of modern aviation. Everybody thinks the birthplace of aviation was at Kitty Hawk when the Wright brothers flew, and that may be the case in terms of the first flight of an aircraft in the United States. But we are the birthplace of modern aviation. Since the 1930s, aircraft have been tested out there at Rogers Lake Bed, and then in World War II and the post-World War II era, when aviation really took a leaps and bounds forward in terms of technology, every major aircraft in the U.S. inventory has had some direct connection to Edwards. The first jet aircraft that we built, the XB-59 Aerocomet, was built elsewhere and then brought on train to Edwards and then tested at Edwards Air Force Base. And then from there on, the sound barrier was broken here 70 years ago this year, October 14th, 1947. Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier. Mach 2 was first broken here. Mach 3 was first broken here. 4, 5, 6.
It's a great place to test.
It's a great place. There's nothing like it in the world. Our jewel is Rogers Lake Bed. There's not a lake bed out there that is like it, where you can, an airplane can take an emergency landing on the lake bed, and the clay in the lake bed is a natural fire retardant, so you don't get the sparks and you don't get the fires. And there's been numerous incidences of saved aircraft because of the lake bed. It's visible from outer space, so that's why they chose to land the
It's
space
like a
shuttles
big
there.
arrow saying land here.
That's right. Big comma out here in the desert. It says land here in the Antelope Valley and see the sights.
One of the generals, Kurt Bedke, used to tell us that he's got 5 different species of shrimp in that lake bed.
Correct. And they're probably all going to hatch this year with the amount of water that's out there. The lake bed currently is covered in about 5-6 inches of water from the recent rainstorms. And the water doesn't soak in. It stays on the surface until it evaporates. And the natural wave action of our notorious Antelope Valley winds out here
Keeps it flat.
it fills in the cracks and fissures and keeps it flat. But then all the brine shrimp, once the weather warms up, they'll all hatch, and you'll have millions of brine shrimp out there. And then they lay their eggs, the water evaporates, and they wait again.
And then we go to next year.
Exactly.
So there's the Century Circle.
Correct. For anybody that's ever come off Rosemont Boulevard towards Edwards Air Force Base, as you come to the Visitor Control Center, there's a number of aircraft parked on the right-hand side with an orange control tower looking structure. That is the original control tower top from Muroc Army Air Base at the South Base area. That was relocated there, and then all the F-100 series jets that were developed and flown out here at Edwards are in a circular format out there. That will be the entrance, or kind of the gateway to the new museum. The new museum will be on 34 acres to the southwest of Century Circle, so there'll be a stairway leading down into the museum, but the parking lot will be further west.
So the Century Circle is there now, and it's outside the gate, so people
Correct.
are welcome to come and take as many pictures as they want.
That is correct. Century Circle is open. You can get there without having to get onto the base. You don't have to pass a security checkpoint. There's a number of unique aircraft there that are cool in and of themselves, but
Yeah.
also right here in Palmdale, open to the public Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. is the Blackbird Air Park, where we have the largest collection of formerly Black Project aircraft anywhere in the world. Most places would kill to have one SR-71. We've got an A-12 and SR-71 sitting out there along with a U-2, and we also have another SR-71, the prototype SR-71, sitting out at Edwards.
3 of them.
We have 3 of them.
And probably they're in Palmdale on Avenue P. Probably any day you pull up there, you could talk to half a dozen people who actually worked on the
That's
bed.
correct. We have volunteers out there every week that have worked on the program and can answer questions on it. We also have a U-2D model sitting out there that a lot of people may not know, but for those of you listening, rather than me tell the story here, go on to Google and Google the Miracle at Cortez, and you can add the tag in there of U-2 or whatever. But if you Google Miracle at Cortez, you'll find a very unique story of how a Taiwanese Air Force pilot flying a U-2 experienced what I consider to be 3 separate miracles in one emergency landing in the middle of nowhere in Cortez, Colorado. So
Well, keep talking, and I'll just Google it while you're talking.
there you go.
So does the Flight Test Museum have a website?
We do. It's www.flighttestmuseum.com. I'm sorry, flighttestmuseum.org. Or you could also go to afftcmuseum.org. But if you Google Flight Test Museum, you'll find it there. And our big push now is, it's a 4-phase project to build a new museum. Phase 1 is the environmental studies, all the environmental impact reports that have to be done on the property to make sure we're not disturbing any cultural or environmentally sensitive resources. And that is almost done. We're expecting to have that done by this summer. And then that will pave the way for us to be able to actually work on Phase 2, which is the construction of the first building. So we're in the process of Phase 1. Phase 2 will follow. Then Phase 3 is adding a visitor center. The initial visitor center will be inside the first building. but then we'll add a second visitor center outside of that hangar so we can free up more exhibit space. And then phase 4 is adding another hangar so that we'll have these great aircraft out of the elements here and in an environment where we can use each one to have an educational aspect to it for field trips for students to come out here.
Oh, yeah.
And,
So that'll be good for another 100 years.
exactly.
Now, the buildings that you're going to recycle some buildings.
We are going to recycle some buildings. There are some former test facilities that were owned by Lockheed that are sitting at an airport here in Southern California that we're in negotiations with them right now to acquire those buildings and relocate them out here to Edwards and then reconstruct them. They are historical in their own right, and the aircraft that were modified in those over the years were actually then brought up to Edwards and tested, so it comes straight back to the Edwards connection.
So you need how many dollars?
The total project is $7.75 million is the estimate right now. We've got the money to do phase 1 and part of phase 2, but we need more. So anybody out there that's a fellow wingnut like Chris and myself, and you would love to see the history of the Aerospace Valley preserved, you can go to our website. Again, it's flighttestmuseum.org, and donate through the donation tab there. Any and every donation is accepted, whether it's $5, $10, $100,000, or $7 million. If you win the lottery this week, keep us in mind.
So for $1 million, would you consider naming one of the buildings after me?
We can't name the building after you because it's an Air Force, it's on Air Force property. But we can put a big plaque in front of the building that says this building donated by Chris Spiker.
Well, I'm going to think about that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it. Right now.
Even if you can't do $7 million, I'll take $500,000 today if you want to write a check. Thank you.
Danny, you are all right.
I am. I'm a giver.
Well, you're the perfect person to move this to the next place. Really
Thank
appreciate you.
I appreciate that, and we hope to get your support out there. Thank you all.
Okay, 30 seconds. Contact information again, Danny.
FlightTestMuseum.org on the web. And then remember, Google Miracle at Cortez and Operation Oxcart while you're there, because we have the first A-12 ever delivered to the CIA under that program.
Danny Buzzell with the Air Force Flight Test Museum. Thank you.
Thank you.